Michael Popok, Legal AF. Tough and rough day for Donald Trump in a appellate court in New York, and he was present for it. He's trying to overturn a jury verdict against him in which they had judged him to be a sexual abuser, sexually assaulted Jean Carroll back in 1983 in a Manhattan department store directly across the street or catty corner from Trump Tower, when Jean Carroll, an editor for Elle magazine, who was relatively well-known at the time as well in New York, was married to a well-known TV broadcaster at the time, TV newscaster at the time. She bumped into him, had the misfortune of bumping into him in Bergdorf Goodman, and he ended up assaulting her sexually in a dressing room. She told two witnesses, this all came out in the evidence before the 9-0 jury against Donald Trump in May of 2023. She immediately told two close friends of hers that she was sexually attacked. We call those in the legal business outcry witnesses. They're given a special status because they're being told things in the heat of the moment or when something has just initially happened, which we believe also supports the veracity or truthfulness of that particular testimony. One of them was Carol Martin, who was also a TV newscaster, well respected here in New York, and another was a well-known author of books that was in New York and a friend of Jean Carroll's. That testimony, along with a lot of other testimony, Donald Trump having groped women on planes, sexually assaulted them on planes, sexually assaulted them after interviews by People magazine in his home, all got presented to the jury, along with the Access Hollywood tape in which Donald Trump effectively confessed that he has a habit of kissing women against their will and grabbing them by the genitalia and getting away with it because he's a celebrity. All that went in front of the jury. Well, Donald Trump didn't like it, didn't like the jury verdict of $5.5 million for defamation and punitive damages, and decided to call Jean Carroll a liar again, defamer again, and he sent in one of his pit bulls, John Sauer, S-A-U-E-R, who's argued a couple of cases before the United States Supreme Court and other district courts. He's like his lead appellate lawyer, and had him argue before the Second Circuit. That he went up against Robbie Kaplan. Robbie Kaplan, longtime attorney for Jean Carroll. They battled it out today in front of a 3-judge panel of the Second Circuit attended by Donald Trump. The presiding judge was Judge Denny Chin. I've been before Judge Chin. I think I had one of his first cases 30 years ago when I argued as a young lawyer in front of him when he was a district court judge, now an appellate judge, soon to be retiring. But Denny Chin heard the case today and stopped Sauer in his tracks in front of Donald Trump because the primary argument that was being raised by Donald Trump's lawyers and John Sauer, he of the gravelly voice, you might have heard him in his Supreme Court presentation. It sounds like he gargled with broken glass and then down bourbon on top of that. That guy, and he speaks way too fast as an advocate. He's constantly moving his arms around. Listen, I've been an appellate advocate, and I'm pretty effective, but you kind of lock arms and lock on to the lectern, and you don't become very distractive. You're not a trial lawyer here, you're an appellate lawyer. He went so fast that Denny Chen, the presiding judge, said, whoa, Mr. Sauer, slow down, going too fast. To which Sauer has been told that time and time again. So I'm just very passionate. I have to get all these words. It's like he's getting paid by the word. One of his main arguments was that Donald Trump was allowed to grope the woman on the plane who testified against him, Jessica Leeds, who only had the misfortune of being upgraded to first class and sitting next to a guy she didn't know, and then he had his hands on her breasts. Because the defense for that, according to Sauer in court, was there was no federal crime against that. There's always been a federal crime about improperly touching your neighbor. Ever since kindergarten, nursery school, we've been told, keep your hands to yourself. To John Sauer, there was no crime, so the evidence couldn't come in. It was ridiculous. And those arguments took on a lot of hot water. The main argument that Trump's lawyers are making is that the other evidence of other women being subjected to similar sexual assaults by Donald Trump should not have come in. There were effectively three main pieces of evidence that came in about Donald Trump's prior bad acts, if you will. They call it, it's evidence about propensity. And this is a civil matter. If this was a criminal matter, it might be a closer call. In criminal matters, you're not allowed to bring in other bad acts to prove that this criminal defendant did that bad act. That's why Harvey Weinstein's New York conviction was overturned, because way too much testimony and evidence was allowed to be brought in by the judge, who should have been the gatekeeper to keep it out, about victims that were not the victim or the victims that were the heart of that particular prosecution. And it was too much, and it blew the mind of the jury, overwhelmed them with prejudice, and it tainted the conviction. But that's in criminal court. We're talking about state court, civil, different standard, preponderance of the evidence, not beyond the reasonable doubt. There's no prosecutor. And so this kind of evidence under the rules of evidence are allowed to come in to show a propensity to do something, right? But not to prove that he actually did this particular thing. Could be motive and that type of thing. So you bring in Jessica Leeds, who testified that she was upgraded to first-class sat next to Donald Trump, and he put his hands on her without asking permission and groped her, sexually assaulted her. And testimony of a People magazine reporter who testified that she was sent down by People magazine to do a puff piece. I thought that's all People magazine does or did. They don't have hard-hitting journalism. But she went down to do a puff piece, a vanity piece on Donald Trump and Melania Trump right after their wedding. And when Melania turned her back and left the room down at, I think it was Mar-a-Lago, Trump pushed her up against the wall and tried to kiss her. Don't take my word for it. That's her under oath testimony. That's a jury having listening to the evidence as the trier of fact that happened and concluding it 9-0 against Donald Trump. And the last piece of evidence is the Access Hollywood hot mic moment with Billy Bush. When Donald Trump was heard, when he didn't think anybody was listening, that's when you know somebody's true character, what they do when they don't think anybody's watching. Donald Trump saying to Billy Bush and laughing, guffawing over it, I can get away with anything. I can jam my tongue down a woman's throat. She won't mind. Ha, ha, ha. I'm a celebrity. I can grab her by the P word. That got played for the jury, actually in two juries, because E. Jean Carroll's a two-time winner. E. Jean Carroll took down Donald Trump for $5.5 million. Then when he defamed her again and punitive damages were at stake again after he was president and when he was no longer president, another jury for $88 million. Also found Donald Trump defamed E. Jean Carroll, and it hit him with another round of punitive damages. So he's facing like $100 million of punitive damages. Now, technically, this appellate argument today that Donald Trump decided to show up for, I don't know why. You think he'd have better things to do. I mean, he's not running and screwing up the country any longer. But I don't know. He's got a debate with Kamala Harris on the 10th of September. He's got a case in Washington against him that's got briefing schedules related to four felony counts against him. He's going to get sentenced in New York 2 days before Thanksgiving. He's allegedly campaigning for office, although he's rarely seen on the campaign trail. I mean, he's got less than 40 days till the election. You think he'd have better things to do? I don't, or whatever. I mean, whatever it is, this is where this guy's at. Today he shows up with that long red tie and that, and then, of course, he does the press conference right afterwards, which I'm going to play right now. Look at Alina Habba. I want her circled. Let's have the editing team. Let's circle Alina Habba. Does she look like she wants to be anywhere else but standing behind her with that, that trout face? It looks like that Snicker commercial, like not going anywhere for a while. Have a Snicker bar. So let's watch a clip from Donald Trump at his, Trump Tower again, the golden escalator, talking about E. Jean Carroll, defaming her again, giving rise to another defamation case against him, and saying that everything is linked to Kamala Harris and the Department of Justice. They're all, even though it's a federal jury civil case about something he did in 1983, it must have been Kamala Harris. By the way, Kamala Harris is about my age. Kamala Harris in 1983 was probably a junior in high school. I don't know how she could have anything to do with his decision to sexually assault E. Jean Carroll in a dressing room. But this is Donald Trump. Everybody's to blame. Oh, big, bad, mean Lewis Kaplan, the judge. He's so angry. He threatened to jail Alina Habba. Oh, my God. He presided over a wedding once. I mean, the amount of whining, complaining, projecting, we all have Trump fatigue. And there's a cure for it. It's called the election on November 5th. Pull the switch. Put yourself out of the misery. Put him out of misery and Trump fatigue. So let's play the clip.
It's very sad. Judge Lewis Kaplan, angry man. He was so angry. I went to the trial. I've been in a lot of litigation over the years. I've never seen such anger, or wanted to throw one of our attorneys in jail, who was threatened her with jail. Nobody's ever seen anything like it over nothing. I've never seen such anger, but all of our judges, I mean, we had a brilliant judge, and I think a very fair judge in Florida. I think we have another judge who's very fair. I just ask for fair. I don't want anything different from anybody else. I just ask for fairness. We have another judge, or a couple of judges that I think are fair. But then we have other judges that I think the whole thing is, I think the system is a disgrace. The case that we met on today, and then we're going to talk about job numbers, which are horrible, by the way, horrible, like really bad. And you know that. I'm sure you won't report on it, but the job numbers are terrible. We're going to talk about the appeal today. We had a great appellate lawyer go down representing us, and I think John did a very good job. You have a matter of minutes to speak. It's a very complex thing because it was a setup, a rigged deal. They had two witnesses. And before I start, I have no idea who this woman is. They have a picture from, they say, about 40 years ago, a picture. And the picture depicts her and her husband on a celebrity line where I was the celebrity. I was been a celebrity for a long time. And they were shaking my hands along with hundreds of other people. Nobody even knows where it is. The problem is she doesn't know the date of this incident. She doesn't know when. She doesn't know, was it in the 90s? Could it have been further than that? She has no idea when. And people do that because you don't want to give a specific date, and then you find out that Trump or whoever it was in Europe. So they tend to do that. They take long periods so that this way, hopefully he was in New York at that time. But this is a disgraceful case, and disgraceful in particular because it's about a former president of the United States who is now leading in the polls to be the president again. And this is being worked with the DOJ, Department of Justice, as are all of these cases.
All right. Well, there's Donald Trump blaming everybody once again. Here's what's going to happen. You've got a 3-judge panel led by Denny Chin. You got Judge Chin, Judge Carney, and Judge Perez. Oral argument was today. It's been fully briefed. Somewhere in the next 4 to 6 months, we're going to get a decision from the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. And my gut is it's not going to go well for Donald Trump or for John Sauer. They're not going to overturn or call for a new trial and vacate the original trial. You know, Robbie Kaplan argued on behalf of E. Jean Carroll that she didn't really need the other evidence of Access Hollywood and the 2 women that were sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. She would have won without it. That may be true, and I think she's got the winning argument. It is, you know, I think the Second Circuit's going to have to carefully look at, make sure that the information was appropriately let in as evidence by Judge Kaplan. I mean, Judge Chin, within the first few minutes of the oral argument, which I listened to, stopped Sauer in his tracks and said, I don't know, everything that you're raising sounds like evidentiary rulings and decisions by the judge. And we give trial judges broad discretion to make those decisions on the fly in a trial under an abuse of discretion standard, meaning it's almost impossible to overturn a trial judge. And you're not giving me anything else. How do you think you're going to win this appeal? And that's basically what Chin is telling him. Now, I don't know who's going to write the appeal. Probably Chin, based on the leadership here, but we'll see. We'll get the decision. My gut is that they will deny the appeal. They'll dismiss the appeal. They'll rule against Donald Trump, and E. Jean Carroll will get her money. And fortunately, E. Jean Carroll has a bond in her favor for both the $5.5 million. Donald Trump had to put up cash. It's sitting with the clerk's office, running with interest, which will go over to E. Jean Carroll when she finally wins. This is to answer the question, when does E. Jean Carroll get paid? When this order comes out on this appeal. Because I don't really think Donald Trump has an ability to take this to the United States Supreme Court, but she would get it probably at the end of that. And then there's another related case in which Donald Trump was hit by a second jury, 9-0, and ordered over $88 million. And that he had to go get a $100 million bond posted by a surety company against some of his assets in his Schwab account, his Schwab brokerage account, and she'll get that money too. And if he doesn't pay, she can go to the bonding companies and get that cash directly from them. So that's what's going on with the update of Jean Carroll, the woman who got sexually assaulted and abused as a victim when she worked for the Elle magazine and had the misfortune of bumping into Donald Trump, and all those terrible things happened to her. And don't take my word for it. Take 18 jurors' word for it, against 0 unanimous against Donald Trump each time. I mean, every jury has been unanimous against Donald Trump. Just to leave the hot take on this math, Donald Trump's Trump Organization and 2 of his major entities got hit with 19 counts of tax fraud and tax evasion related to his business operations. And that was by a jury, and that was 12-0, right? A state court jury. Then he got convicted personally of 34 felony counts related to Stormy Daniels and the hush money cover-up conspiracy. And that was in state court, and that was 12-0. So now we're 24-0. And then he lost both Jean Carroll cases, and that was a federal case, civil, with 9 jurors apiece. So you've got 18, you've got I'm doing my math in my head. You got 42-0 in terms of jurors against Donald Trump. Nothing to do with the Justice Department, nothing to do with Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Has everything to do with the bad and criminal conduct of Donald Trump and jurors hearing the evidence. That's in addition to 5 separate grand juries and 1 special purpose grand jury that also found by vast majority against Donald Trump in bringing their indictment. It's not lawfare. It's not weaponization of the Department of Justice. It's Donald Trump criminal acts that he's been trying to get away with his entire career. And the criminal justice system continues to struggle to bring him to justice. We do it all. We talk about these types of things on Legal AF. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to, on a show we call, there it is, see, above the third, Legal AF, at the intersection of law and politics every Wednesday and Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this YouTube channel, and then on audio podcast platforms of your choice. If you like what I'm doing, I'm Michael Popok. You can follow me. Just go over to my playlist, look under Michael Popok. You'll see about 1,300 videos analyzing the law and politics just this way. We don't blow smoke or sunshine. There's no censorship. We're building this network with our bare hands. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.